Hi, this is Anya Camau from Anya Camau Academy. For this outfit, this tunic and these pants, I wanted to apply cords and glass beads. One cord is a gilt cord and the other one is ivory and gold. And then I will put my beads by hand sewing. It will be first essential to set your machine setting carefully to be able to apply these cords neatly. I advise you to set the thread tension as low as possible and the foot pressure very low as well. We are going to start one of the cord patterns. All of them start with small scrolls. This is the prettiest way, I think, to start with a cord. I'm going to show you how to do it. This cord has been cut off. If it remains as it is, it will fray and that will be messy. So I take a needle and some thread of the corresponding color to prick through this cord, roughly 1 centimeter below the end. Then I wind my thread all around tightly, making a very nice winding and keeping it flat, and eventually use a knot known to fishermen to fix it. To make this knot, wind until a few millimeters below the end, prick again through the cord and then tie your knot, just like this. To fix the thread and be sure that the knot is secured, prick below the winding and come out as you can see. Be careful not to sting yourself. This cord is quite flexible and quite easy to prick. I just have to pull the thread out, but you see that the end of the cord is slightly frayed. I'm going to cut all that out, the thread first and then the end of the cord, being careful, of course, not to cut my sewing thread. If unfortunately I cut it, well, I only have to start my winding again, so it's not that harmful. I'm trying to get something clean. Now I'm going to create this little scroll of cord and fix it rolled upon itself before I stitch it to the fabric. When sewing, I always say deal with one difficulty at a time. So I first want my scroll to be created before I take care of stitching it on my fabric. You see that I fold the end of this cord on itself. I make a scroll while being careful that the end is rather going down so that you cannot see it too much. And then, sewing by hand, I make a few stitches so that the scroll remains tight, well closed on itself and does not move when I stitch it on the fabric. You see below my fabric with the red stitches that I made before, which materialize my embellishment pattern. It will also join and steady the fabric and its stabilizer when I go through with my machine stitching this cord. Here I make 2 or 3 stitches to fix this winding, and finally a knot, a very simple knot, and as always I take care to stitch through the cord of the fabric after I make a knot, so that my thread remains trapped and does not free itself. If it becomes free, my knot would tend to untie over time and over washes. This scroll is now ready to be stitched on. I look out where I want to fix it, and it's easy since I drew everything on my fabric. For my machine, I always set a very low tension and a low foot pressure. I choose a transparent foot which accepts zigzag point stitch. If you don't have a transparent foot like this, take a quilting foot or at least one with which you can see what you're doing. I also prepare a needle and thread in advance, which I will use when I finish this pattern, since it's end with another scroll and I will have to fix this scroll by hand as I have just done for the first scroll. Then I set simply a pin to steady this pattern, this scroll, so that it does not move. I only take care of stitching on the cord now. As I said before, I deal with one difficulty at a time, and very slowly I take care to go along my pattern. And you see the advantage of this transparent foot, which is really very useful. If it does exist as an accessory to your machine, it's really a wise investment. Using this foot, I can easily move the fabric underneath to achieve a kind of free embroidery, or let's say free stitching. I go on following the red pattern I made, just stitching the cord along. You see that I do it quietly, very slowly, as there is truly no technical issue with that. Now I have to make the scroll at the end of this embellishment pattern, so I estimate the length of cord that I need. There I stopped a little short, a few points before should have been more comfortable. I cut my cord and in the same way, taking the needle and thread that I prepared before, because my thread is now on the machine and I cannot take any more thread out, I make this fisherman knot. I do not know his name, sorry. It's a very useful knot. There I prick a little too high, so I prick again below at about 1 centimeter before the end. Then I wind this thread around several times, 6 or 7 times, and then I tie a knot. While making this knot, you see that I always keep my thread under tension, so that the winding stays tight. The knot is made, now I prick lengthwise below this winding to block my thread, to be sure that nothing gets undone with time and washing. I'm also going to clean the end of this cord by carefully cutting all the lint out, the inside fibers of the cords which are white. Now I roll the end of this cord upon itself according to the pattern that I drew on the fabric, clockwise or counterclockwise, which is the case here. I just have now to stitch this scroll on. I told you that I stopped a little late, so you see that I like a little length of cord to manage to do it comfortably, but it's still possible. So I advise you to stop a little bit earlier, maybe 2 centimeters before. Be careful not to sting yourself, as I often do myself. Here is this scroll, which is the end of this embellishment pattern, which is now ready. I just have to place it on the fabric where I want to stitch it. I simply set a pin so that nothing moves, and I stitch it slowly with a light zigzag. I will remove the pin when I have blocked the scroll enough. Here are the last stitches to fix the scroll. When I'm done with all my gilt cord patterns, I do the same with the ivory cord and then stitch my beads by hand. First, I sort out the beads, taking out the biggest ones for the bottom of the pants, 6 and 6. Then 3 rows of beads big enough for the top of the front, 3 rows a little smaller on each side for the sleeves, and an assortment of medium beads that will go at the bottom of the tunic. All the remaining beads, which are therefore smaller, will be distributed on my embellishment according to my drawing. Here is the drawing I made when I made this sewing pattern. Here you can see the scrolls that have been sewn. My pattern represents only half of the tunic because it's symmetrical. I set here my largest beads just where I had drawn small red dots to allow me to verify that the result will be nice enough. Here are the embellishments of this outfit on my front tunic and also on my pants as well. This is the front tunic I embellished with 2 kinds of cords, one gilt and the other ivory and gold. All were fixed on the fabric with a zigzag stitch using a sewing machine, and all the beads were sewn on by hand. It's a rather heavy embellishment. At home you can decide to put ribbons, pearls, fringes, absolutely everything according to your inspiration. I also remind you that I place embellishment on the bottom of the sleeves and the legs of the pants as well.